Hi guys, welcome to Abdul QS Hub. Now as you can all see, this is the practical aspect of the arrangement of reinforcement in concrete slab. And then about this reinforcement, there is something I quickly want us to understand. There are internal beams that runs through this concrete slab, and then after the casting, you're not going to see the concrete beams that's viewing it from the top. And then about this beam, there's something I want you all to know. There are beams that are primary beams. There are beams we call primary beams, and then there are beams we call secondary beams. And then when you talk about these primary beams, these are beams that move from column to column. For instance, this is a column, this is a reinforcement, this is a projection of a reinforcement, and then this is a column. And then from this point to this point, this is another column also. But if you look at it in between, there is a beam here. This is a beam running from this column up to this column, which is to tell you that this is a primary beam because it is moving from one column to another. And then likewise this one again, this is another primary beam because it is also moving from this column here to this other point of column here. So these are the beams we said to be primary beams. Primary beams are beams that moves from column to column. And then we talk about secondary beams. When you talk about secondary beams, these are beams that move from beam to beam. For instance, this is a beam here. You can see it's actually starting from this point of column. This is a beam, and then it's moving to meet this other beam here. You can see this is a beam also coming from this point, and then they met here without any intersection of column. So these are the beams we call secondary beams because it moves. This is beam to beam. This beam is actually coming from this point, then to this point, and why this other beam is also coming from that point to this point. So they met here without any column here. So that is the reason why you said from beam to beam. So these kind of beams are said to be secondary beams. Then in this reinforcement also, there's what we call horse bench. This horse bench, these are the kind of reinforcement that is placed between the top and bottom of reinforcement to ensure easy flow of concrete mix. Now looking at this is what we refer to as horse bench. You can see this reinforcement here. It is said to be horse bench. Now if you look at it closely, you're going to realize that this reinforcement is actually in between this top of reinforcement and then this bottom. This reinforcement is at the top, and then this is another reinforcement bottom. So you're having this horse bench here in between so that there's going to be space that will allow the easy flow of concrete when they pour it on it. And then we also have concrete spacer. Professionally, it is said to be concrete spacer, but in a layman language, they call it concrete biscuit. When you talk about this concrete spacer, these are stones that are placed beneath the reinforcement in concrete slab. These are the concrete spacer, though we are not done yet. We are about to fix all of the concrete spacer under this reinforcement. So this is just an example of concrete spacer. It is placed beneath the reinforcement, which is between the board, between the formwork and the reinforcement. That is where you have the concrete spacer. So the concrete spacer is more like stone. So what's the use of this concrete spacer? So that by the time you cast your concrete slab, the reinforcement will not be seen beneath. The reinforcement will not be seen beneath after you must have removed your formwork to the surface of your concrete slab. So this is the reason why you would have to put concrete spacer so that after the casting of your concrete work, your reinforcement will not be exposed. And mind you that when your reinforcement is exposed, then automatically there is going to be issue with that structure. So these are the things we need to understand about the reinforcement in concrete slab. Thank you. Don't forget to follow us for more videos, comment, share and like.